March 20th meeting of the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners. To order. Mike, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff.
Here.
Commissioner Schobel.
Here.
Commissioner Meade. Here. Commissioner Luke-Hans.
Here.
President Kelly.
Here. Presentations, Mike, are there any presentations tonight?
No,
Okay, anybody sign up for community input?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Then I need a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff.
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel.
Yes.
Commissioner Meade.
Yes.
Commissioner Luke-Hans.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Okay, unfinished business, the first item, ordinance 2013-02, adopting an easement agreement with Bradford for limiting parking and access. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve ordinance 2013-02. Second.
Any discussion? Yeah, Kim?
Can I get a little clarification on this maintenance, the definition of maintenance? Are we only supposed to take care of those 9 spots that we have?
That's correct.
So snow removal is mentioned here, so we only plow our 9 spots?
That's how it's written, yes. Ideally, we'll probably get into some sort of relationship with Bradford regarding the maintenance of the site, whether they maintain all of it or we maintain all of it. But the spirit of that is, yes, we take care of our 9 spots.
So when
If
we,
there's snow, we won't be playing tennis. We
Right.
can just leave it at our 9 spots.
They'll probably want to put it there.
there you go. So can the employees use those 9 spots, or are they going to have signage that?
We'll have signage.
Okay, and then, so when we first went into this agreement with them, the plan was to have a building there instead of this parking lot. Does this still fit with our agreement with them, that this now is a parking lot?
Yes, it does.
It's fine with our agreement. They're trying to amend the PUD with the city to allow them to put the parking lot there in lieu of the building, and they don't have city approval yet.
Okay, that was on the agenda Monday, right?
Right, but it didn't pass. The city made some counter offers, and Bradford didn't want to commit to it at the meeting, I believe, so they wanted to go back and talk about it.
So should we be voting on this now?
Yeah, if I may, couple things here. We're actually obtaining an easement, so no matter what, we want these 9 spaces or however many there are. And originally, I think we passed it last month because it wasn't completed.
We tabled it last month
Tabled
because
because-
it was less known about the city's concerns about the
And
redevelopment.
we didn't know how much the city was gonna modify it, and we'd have to do this twice. Bradford has requested that we close, they have the right to request we close, and given the fact, and one of the city's positions is to make sure that we don't have the property, they want proof that Bradford has it so that it goes back to tax base, et cetera, once we turn it over. And honestly, I know John and I spoke to Mike about whether to go forward or not. Once we get the easement, if the plan changes, we're negotiating from a position of strength because we already have an easement rather than asking for it.
Okay,
So that's why our recommendation and that of your attorney, we asked Steve to make sure he thought the same way. Steve has written an opinion saying that he thinks the same.
okay.
Anybody else have any questions? And Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff.
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel.
Yes.
Commissioner Meade.
Yes.
Commissioner Luke-Hans.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Unfinished business item 2, the action item for adult education programming, non-resident rate structure.
Move to table and assign complete review of the policy review subcommittee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Action item number 3, approval of a master retail electricity supply agreement with Constellation New Energy as a subsidiary of Exelon Corporation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, you know what?
Do we need a voice vote? Is that a,
I was doing a roll call, Jack. 'Cause there's
Okay.
one.
Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Luke-Hans.
Yes.
Commissioner Meade.
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel.
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderschaff.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. New business item 1, ordinance 2013-03, adopting an intergovernmental agreement for development and control of a synthetic turf field on property owned by Community School District 200.
Move to table Just so everybody knows, we received comments today from the school district's attorneys. We thought they were fine with the agreement. They sent us comments today, so we just are ready at this point.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
New business item 2, project update, Central Athletic Center Rehabilitation Project, Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee. I passed out the most recent update on where we stand with change orders and final contracts amounts on that project. I think there's 4 items in yellow. Those we're still waiting for the contractor to get his price in. And there's like 20 items there that have been submitted. We're waiting for the engineers to approve or deny or come up with the number. But the number you're seeing at the bottom should be pretty close to the max that we're gonna be. Looks like change orders for this project will be just under $200,000. If anybody has any questions, contact me. But we're not gonna approve any change orders tonight. Yeah, Kim?
So are any of these things holding up usage of the,
The work is done, he just hasn't got the price in it.
oh, okay,
Yeah, we've actually, we're going.
okay.
Yeah, all those items on the bottom, 90% of them are done. He's gone ahead on his own and done them. Some of them, we've already agreed to the price. The stuff that's missing is stuff he considers an extra, and he's done it, but he hasn't submitted a price.
Okay, he's gonna do that soon? We'll be able to clear this up?
And he wants to get paid.
If he wants to get paid.
Those missing 4 are holding up us approving the rest of
Okay.
them, so.
I'm always happy to have his money, as long as he wants us to have it.
Okay,
Realistically, we're hoping to get this done in April, I think.
Okay.
we're close. Action item 3, additional service proposal from V3 companies for open space redesign. Need a motion.
Sorry. Move to approve the additional services proposal from V3.
Second.
Mike,
Questions? Yeah,
yeah,
Kim?
Mike, or, does Mike want to give an update? I don't know if anybody knows what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I think that's a fair question.
If you may recall, you may not, back when we were negotiating the original plan unit development ordinance, when submitted with Bradford with the city of Wheaton, the city felt strongly we submit the beginnings of an athletic field site plan. That was, and we did so, and we did tell them that it's likely it won't end up looking like this, but this is our best shot this early in the game. The topography of the outdoor areas, which is designed by the stormwater engineers to hold the water in a certain way before it finds its way south of Roosevelt Road, was done so with that original design in mind. Subsequent to that time, as we expected would happen, we have a revision on an athletic field design, which you see in your packet, attached to this contract. The bottom line, the short version is that we need to pay a small amount of money to have the topography redesigned to support the construction of this athletic field array as opposed to the previous one. And that is what I have authorized, phase 1, which was the concept. I'd like the board to ratify the entire contract this evening, so we can get this done before, this is one of those situations where I think the weather's helping us. We need to get this done, we need to get this design done before Bradford's excavators start shaping the turf, shaping the soil that will be turf. So, there you have it.
So, and John, I don't know if this was in your subcommittee, there was a change to the parking lot that changed a grade. Does that impact this? No? So we'll be fine with all of the water retention and all of the drainage?
Yes.
I forget, how many ball fields did the original plan? Didn't it show 4?
The ball field had one multi-purpose, football, lacrosse, soccer area, and one baseball field and 2 softball fields. This configuration will have 2 multi-purpose areas and potentially 4 baseball, softball, multi-use fields. Hopefully all under lights, but that's something that's under review currently as far as city code is concerned.
But this is the plan that we've given the lighting consultant to try to come up with the new lighting design for these fields. You know, you recall early on in the project, we determined that the existing light fixtures are in really bad shape and they couldn't remain, and the city actually wants us to take them down. So the poles don't fall, and have we done that yet?
Waiting for the right
So-
series of
so
days
we're
of
planning
weather to
take
do
them
it.
down. So now that we have the new design, we've also got the lighting company is working on a design for that too, to see how many of these fields and what areas we can light in what phases, so that'll be coming shortly.
What's the issue with the lights? I mean, that field was always light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got approval for lighting the fields, okay, that's not the issue. The issue becomes whether we can, how we light the fields while staying within the lighting code of not having a lot of spillage or too much spillage off the property. Because as you remember where they were, for the most part, surrounded by our property.
Right.
Where we're talking about putting these fields now are more in the middle, a little closer to Main Street. And so we have to be a little more careful. The city, we're either
There
gonna,
are no homes on that.
I understand that, here's what you have to do. You either have to show you comply with the ordinances, or we have to go in for a variation, okay? Because it is a code. Now, the city has said to us, we think we don't have a huge issue with it. We're just trying to figure out if we can do it without one, not have to go through that process.
Okay.
And, you know,
This is where, I got news for you. This is where I really.
Well,
have a
we're
problem.
trying to
We just get in the way of ourselves. This is just makes common sense. Why go through this whole process and spend extra dollars when it
we're
just
not
doesn't make any
spending extra
sense?
dollars right now. This is not extra
We
dollars.
will be, I guarantee you.
If we go through the variation, we should be able to do the variation in-house. We should not need an attorney.
All right, okay.
It's not that kind of variation. Mike, I had a question though, and maybe it's staff or whomever. And I just don't recall, and I should, but I don't. Do we have a path marked out for surrounding these fields, like a walking track, running path? Is that what
Yes,
we have?
it's
Is
not
that that
depicted.
brown, is that that brown thing I'm seeing?
Yes.
Okay, okay, great, thanks.
That should be- I believe at this juncture, the plan is for agricultural limestone similar to Northside Park.
So something that people could run on, et cetera.
Correct, run and water.
Anybody else? Okay, Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Luki-Hines?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandershaft?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Action item number 4, recommendation to engage Selden Fox for professional audit services for the Wheaton Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Kim?
There was a comment made in the memo about staff calling to find out about how well this company had performed elsewhere. What was the outcome from that?
I've received favorable responses.
From which other entities that they're serving?
The Addison Park District, Western DuPage Special Rec Association, I believe Commissioner Luki-Hines knows, or.
Yeah, they represent one of my clients, and we've never had a problem with them, to my knowledge.
Well, we've had them in the past, you know, going back when I first got on the board.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around forever.
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm gonna tell you, I wasn't really exactly enamored with them, so.
Is that back in the 70s?
It could have been. Okay.
Yeah, I just think it's timely for a change, you know. It's not unusual for government entities to change their auditors periodically, and now's the time.
Yeah, if I may, I mean, the reason the finance committee, Steve's not here, but the reason we both suggested changing is for less than $500 yearly, we get a new set of eyes. That's
I
really
agree.
all it was.
Okay.
And when we proposed, I think when we suggested the 3 years in the ordinance or whatever, wrote the regs, whatever, that was something that was a goal of ours as a board, is to keep that going in that direction for that, just to make sure, not that anybody thinks anything's wrong, but a new set of eyes is never a bad thing.
Look, I'm the guy that suggested that we ought to rotate auditors anyway. I mean, so, for me.
Well, I wasn't directing this at you.
No, I'm the first guy that'll tell you that, because I believe that. I think you get comfortable and you get comfortable with the staff, you get comfortable with the whole process. And I think that anytime you get a new auditor come in, I'm in complete agreement. You might pick up something somebody else has missed.
Anybody else? All right, Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Vandershaft,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Me.
Yes.
Commissioner Lukian.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Item number 5, recommendation to accept bids for football uniforms and equipment.
Move to approve staff recommendation that the bid from Santos Sports Store be accepted.
You know, can I, if I may, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman?
go ahead, Phil.
Frame it differently? I'll withdraw that motion.
Okay. I'm gonna recommend that, the staff recommend we accept the bid from Lansing Sports Shop for football jerseys, from Santos Sports Store for flag football jerseys and game pants, for rib pads, and rib pads, and that we accept the recommendation from Riddell Revolution Helmets for helmets. I think that's it, right?
You got
Second?
miscellaneous, you got miscellaneous.
Second. Yeah, you're behind the two memos.
Yeah, there was a correction in the email.
My air.
Not yours.
I'll
Okay, so
take
we have a
the
second.
heat. We
Who
have a
was the
second.
Terry?
Thank you,
Okay,
Phil.
questions? Discussion?
Next time we kind of have a change in this, can we get printouts of the change so that we make certain we all have it in front of us at the meeting?
Oh, as opposed to just emailing it to you?
When we're here at the meeting,
Certainly.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I will.
And I think it would also be helpful, so we don't have this issue again, that we reprint the whole memo.
Got it, instead of just one page of it?
Yeah.
Sure,
It's only a 3-page memo, it's like, let's make sure no
understood.
one's confused.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Because usually it's me that's confused.
This time it was me.
Mike, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Vandershaft,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Me.
Yes.
Commissioner Lukian.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. New business item 6, full-time vacancy, environmental education supervisor. Need a motion?
I'll get this one right.
Go ahead, Terry.
Move to approve.
Second.
Anybody have questions? Kim?
So it was not clear to me, Larry, and I don't know if you're the one who will answer this. Is this position empty or is someone holding this right now?
It is empty right now.
How long has it been empty?
Approximately 6 or 8 weeks, I think now.
Okay, and the reason it's empty, what happened to the former staff?
Lisa had decided to be a stay-at-home mom. She had her second child.
When is the busy time period for this position?
Coming up here.
Meaning April?
Yeah, May, June, July, the summer months.
Okay, and then what happens in the off months?
Well, there's a lot of in-school programming as well, where they go to the schools and educate them as well and work with them.
So what have we been doing these last couple of months?
Part-time and staff, Tara and so on, really stretching themselves.
Do we plan with this position to add any additional programs, or is it simply a continuation of what we've been doing?
It's to maintain what we have right now, and of course, always additionally trying to get more programs every year, every season, so to speak, yes.
Anybody else have questions? And Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Vandershaft,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Me.
Yes.
Commissioner Lukian.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Next item, reports from staff. You want to just either go around, or does anybody have questions on the Arrowhead report? Kim?
So on, and I don't know who's going to answer this.
Depends on the question.
Okay.
Everybody's here.
So looking at 54, at page 54, so I'm curious about what's been happening over these last 3 years. We have seen a significant decrease in expenses for administration. Can you tell me what has happened there?
Andy, right?
Read it or myself.
The most, I mean, I don't have the exact account numbers in front of me. The only thing that I know that is of that level of significance is the debt schedule.
Fluctuates.
Food and beverage? Okay, so we added a prep cook, how long ago? A couple months, 3 months ago?
The sous chef position?
Yeah, the sous chef.
Yeah,
I'm
well, we
sorry.
added you approved the addition of the position, we actually haven't added the person yet, because we haven't found the right candidate.
Hasn't been filled yet.
Okay, so there's a huge increase in prep cooks. What's driving that increase in 2012?
Well, it's a matter of just adding performance. We weren't able at the previous levels to perform at the level that we needed, so we needed to add.
So we had additional prep cooks in 2012? And how is that then, the addition of the sous chef, how is that gonna fit into this picture?
Well, you would, hopefully, it won't be a one-for-one reduction, but we did talk about this at, when we had a position, we would expect to have some percentage of that augmented, you know, to lessen the prep cook hours.
Okay, because we're not, the revenue here on 54 from food and beverage is decreasing over the last 3 years. And it's being driven by, you know, a rather large increase in expenses.
What's decreasing? I'm sorry, I got
It's
lost.
actually-
It's going up.
The net
You mean the
revenue
earnings
in
or the-
food and beverage
Oh, the net
Oh,
revenue.
the net.
went from
Sorry.
1281, so 1,281,000, down to 1.1.
Yeah,
and-
we just didn't understand you were saying that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When you
The
said revenue, we
expenses-
were reading the top column.
I'm sorry, I
The one
apologize
marked
for that.
revenue.
So revenue really has been rather static over the last 2 years, which is interesting, but the expenses are going up at a fairly quick pace here. And if this doesn't account for that sous chef that we've added, which will be an additional expense, how can we get our hands around that? Is that being driven by increasing cost of goods? Is it being driven by increased wages? How can we kind of get back to, you know, what had been a, you know, $500,000 less just 2 years prior?
I'm sorry, the last part of that, you said.
So in 2010, that was, the expenses were almost $500,000 lower.
Right, and I can't speak, I'd have to follow up, but some of that does have to do with the administrative expenses, because some of those expenses are shared between food and beverage and golf.
Okay,
And so they're allocated, and so I think that does answer your previous question. Some of that reduction in expenses actually was a matter of being allocated to administration versus food and beverage. I couldn't speak, I'd have to follow up.
I'll add to that. Yeah, in 2010, there were some food and beverage and golf expenses coming out of the admin part of the budget
okay,
that we allocated to the proper channels, so to speak, to where some of those expenses from admin actually went to the golf side and to the food and beverage side. So if you look in 10, that expense number was pretty high in admin, and then it reduced, but it did increase. If you look in golf, well, not golf.
well,
but-
golf really didn't change, you guys have been pretty
If you
static
look at the
there.
overall, I mean, that's, I think.
That's what you have to look at.
The net that you should be looking at.
Well, I think we need to look at the
Expenses have been
components.
reallocated, whether, how they've been reallocated is kind of an internal matter, I think, but the end result is if you look at what your total over expenses are, I said, when you look at the net result, I think that's what the focus should be on.
If you don't understand the components of it, how can you make good decisions about what's happening there?
If I may
I
make,
think that's what they're trying to explain to you, is that it's been reallocated and how they're reporting their expenses, correct?
Yeah, I mean, some of it has to do with the change in reporting.
Can I,
We just need to one at a time, so. Mark's answer, Phil.
I mean, here, I think a couple things have happened. I agree that, I remember, and I think the answer of the bonds was actually probably an incorrect answer. Maybe there's some relation, but there is an expense increase in food and beverage that came out of administration as we've reallocated over the past couple of years. I agree with that. However, I think Kim does have a point in that the net, I mean, we cannot forget that the net increased last year, not because of food and beverage. The net increased last year because of the great weather we had.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, I think to look at the net on food and beverage in and of itself, as it has gone down, especially between 11 and 12, is something we need to be looking at and concerned about and be trying to solve. I agree with her on that. So, I guess I'm kind of saying, both of you were absolutely correct, but we gotta look at how we look at it.
But we also had a food increase, I mean, I know we did. I mean, we were talking about changing our food costs as far as our pricing schedule.
But we had no increase in revenue between 11 and 12. None. I mean, $300, $500, sorry. and our expenses went up. So we have to figure out, if that does not change, we're gonna have a decrease, we're gonna have a continual decrease in revenue out of that, out of food and beverage. And that's what we just need to
Okay.
do.
$60,000 swing last 2 years.
Right. So, yeah, we dropped about 60,000.
The net difference between 11 and 12, 12 remains unaudited, is approximately $60,000 in additional expenses on a static revenue piece.
So I think what we ought to do is just ask staff to go back and just write a small report explaining the difference in the expenses, you know, versus, it might be part food costs, it might be, we weren't providing the level of service we had to, so we added a little bit part-time staff. I think somebody explaining that difference to us would suffice right now, and then if the board still thinks there's a problem, we can go back and talk about it, so.
Well, and I would ask that we put in some recommendations as to how we, I know it's not a huge trend, Steve, and trust me, I'm not, I mean, from where we've gone to where we are is unbelievable, and I'm so happy about it. But, our job is to kind of maybe hit all those trends before they get bad, before they get real, problematic. And I think if you have recommendations as to how you intend to reverse either the expense side or the revenue side, you know, increase one or the other, hopefully decrease revenue,
Right.
decrease expenses, increase revenues, I think that should be in the memo as well. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
All right.
That'd be great.
okay.
Anybody have anything else? Sure.
Just building off of that, you know, the, minus any particular recommendations, I think the report was comprehensive. It told us a lot of things that we needed to know. And at least it gave us some figures that we could then take a look at and try to break down as best we could. So, very well done, I thought.
Anybody else? Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right,
Can I just say one more thing on this topic? I happened to be at the restaurant Saturday, or I don't know what day it was for my family, and overheard Steve training a new server, him and Bob Flood, and I was very impressed with the way they were dealing with the staff and giving positive recommendations and positive feedback, as well as constructive criticism in a way that I thought was very professional, and I appreciated it. I probably shouldn't have been listening in, but I was.
Had a lot of practice.
okay. Anybody have anything on the 2012 Recreation Varied Interest Program report? All right. Executive Director, Mike, anything?
Well, short of any questions for Kristen Hanlon, which means she did a great job. I'd like to say, nice job, Kristen, on a good report, and keep up the good work in the rec department. We have, by way of one announcement on something that's coming up in one of our divisions, we are unveiling a folk art exhibit on April 11th at the DuPage County Historical Museum. That will be a 6-month engagement with a lot of loan artifacts and art, and we expect it to be a very, very well received exhibit, and something that has really not occurred not only in DuPage County but in Illinois ever. It's going to be kicked off on Thursday, April 11th at the museum from 6 to 8 with an opening event, and we would certainly love to see as many members of the community there as possible. Please visit our website for information about attending. Thank you.
Any board member comment? Terry?
Mike, I see that there's a notation about the Sensory Garden project, and I see that we're continuing to look for monies. You got a brief update on, you know, where we're going and how soon we might get there?
We are in the vicinity of $100,000 from beginning in commitments from beginning the $480,000 phase 1. So we're hopeful that a fall construction.
Fall of this year?
That's what we're hopeful for. We need to have obviously 100% of the pledges in place for the phase, and we're getting there. We're very close.
It's getting a lot of good ink.
Yeah, the morning Rotary, which is, it's not Wheaton Rotary, it's DuPage, yeah, Central DuPage Rotary. They meet at Cantini in the morning. A little too early for me, which is why I go to the lunch Rotary. I'd like to give them some recognition for contributing $25,000 to this effort, as well as leveraging some Rotary International dollars as a result of that, so that will go a long way towards getting us towards our goal.
Speaking of good ink, Margie, nice job on the Gammon Award for the marketing on the Bobcat exhibit. That was pretty cool. Then I see, Mike, we also, we scored a grant for the permeable paving parking lot for Cosley and one other.
The office building
Office
adjacent to
building,
it, yeah.
Another way to offset our expenses, good work. Andy, while you're here, you're thinking about maybe first weekend in April for golf, you and Billy and Bruce, maybe?
No.
Why do you have to kick these guys when they're down?
No, you know.
Hopefully, you know,
Good.
we still got some, we still got some snow
Right.
out on some of the holes where the sun isn't hitting some of those areas, so we gotta get that, snow to melt before we could even consider.
Justin, you looking at a delay in opening up the west course after east and south are open?
Yes,
For, what is it, turf work?
just finishing up final details, putting in some signs, just letting it grow in.
What do you think the delay will be? How long?
I predict, hopefully, depending on the weather here, very end of April, maybe the third week in April.
Is the 19 holding you up?
I'm sorry?
Is the 19 holding you up?
No, I just wait for the ground to freeze.
Well, I figure the whole west side has gotta be just like a rock, just like the south is in the backside.
Yeah, everything's just hard.
Is Park Services in charge of the weather there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I'll
get to
get
work
right
on
on
that.
That's north side weather.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
cool.
right.
That's all I got, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, then, I'd like a motion to go into closed session.
Move to go into closed session for the purchase or lease of real property under 5 ILCS 120/2 (C)(5).
Second.
Who was the second? Terry? Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Lukian?
Yes.
Commissioner Meany?
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandershat?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Executive session will be really short tonight, but we will not come back and take any action after executive session.